Hello everyone, today we're going to revisit the video reception of this newly reviewed FlyWoo FireFly 1S Nano baby. Some of you may have noticed some flashing, maybe more so on my video than others. And I also received a comment from Batan who had talked about how he had two different ExpressLRS builds that had that same sort of flashing. And immediately I thought, well, I don't want to misrepresent the product because of my equipment. Maybe it's faulty in some way. So I've done some testing. The first thing we're going to do is not necessarily to test the ExpressLRS stuff because I did that. Short story is I can't tell a difference, but I'll show it to you. But I got the SkyZone 040 04X goggles out. Of course, different DVR, different receiver, and then I'm going to show them side by side, the Orca with the rapid fire as well as the SkyZone 04X. I think it does two things. It shows the difference in the DVR, or the receiver and the DVR, and it made me buy another module for my Orca goggles because, well, we'll talk about it during the video. Here we go. I've got everything labeled up. Of course, got a core warning because it's hot. It's been hot, seems like forever. And what I see in that initial run is more flashing from my rapid fire module. And I also see the DVR in the SkyZone, a little bit different aspect ratio as well as much different colorization. Now, I had heard before that rapid fire tends to dull out the image. And there we see the sync locking issues that I experienced with the 04X. And I was flying with the 04X goggles on. I need to check to see if there's an update available for these. But I had heard that rapid fire kind of dulls out analog video, and this kind of makes it look that way. I did order a TBS Fusion module, and we'll see when that comes in. I'll probably do another similar test. If you're interested in seeing the DVR difference, I think it's been exhaustively tested as far as Immersion RC's rapid fire versus TBS's Fusion and reception. But being a micro guy and doing still a majority analog, I want the DVR to look more like what I see in the goggles. And I think that in the case of the SkyZone goggles with its receiver and DVR is doing a better job of what I'm used to seeing. And I'd kind of forgotten that the rapid fire stuff is a little bit dull. And maybe we've all just gotten used to that. But I also think that the reception is a little bit better with the SkyZone goggles. It's not markedly better. And in some cases, you'll probably look at it and think, well, it's not better in this particular spot and whatnot, but I think it's not definitive enough to say that one's definitely better than the other. They seem that the static presents themselves differently. I am running rapid fire mode 1, and I'm also got the normal mode, or I can't remember the mode that the Steady View calls it. It's the top mode. It's not the race mode. So it should be doing essentially something very, very similar to what rapid fire does with blending the signals and kind of combining them to give us the best possible video reception and image clarity. But we've gone down the block. We did our normal test with that. So that was the first thing I wanted to show you because the DVR difference was pretty surprising. You can analyze the video for what you want. And also, this does give you an opportunity. I caught a gap of about 45 minutes, maybe even 50 minutes, where the wind actually calmed way down. This is mid-morning. And when I first went out that morning, I had fairly good winds. And my daughter was out back studying. And then maybe an hour later, came back out, and she was all done studying. This is the beginning of my testing, and I've got two different radios. I've got my Ishin TX16X, 16S, with the Nano flash. That's the 2.4 gigahertz version with my Jumper T-Lite and the Happy Model Slim module in there. Again, I didn't think this was very definitive. They're both set to 250 milliwatts as I've labeled there on the screen. And I did this test on 100 milliwatts as well as 50 milliwatts and 25 milliwatts. Again, I didn't see it as so dramatically different that I could blame the equipment. You might see it differently, but I did want to show it to you because this gives you another opportunity, especially if you're interested in the FlyWoo and maybe you had that same sort of question. Now, this is on a different day. This is not this morning. This is Saturday where it was windy again. So you see the bobbles and wobbles that we had in the review video when it comes to wind and this little micro that doesn't hardly weigh anything. So wind having an effect isn't necessarily surprising. But I wanted to test this because of the comment that I got from Batan. I hope I'm saying your name right there. I appreciate you kind of identifying something that you troubleshot. I think he said he spent 2 months troubleshooting it. And I wanted to make sure I wasn't misrepresenting this quad or any other quad, because I did one other review with the Foxeer Reaper, the Mini VTX, where it seemed like we got some odd results there with the reception in close not being as good, or the reception further away being remarkable compared to the reception in close. And I did speed up these video segments. So if you see one side going faster than the other, what I did was I tried to time the flight and the flight path, and then change the speed of the video to where they would be in sync, at least for parts of it, so you could actually do kind of a frame by frame analysis if you wanted to. Is the flight synced up? No, but they're completely different flights, and it's especially hard when you're doing a radio that you don't tend to fly with, and having that consistency. So there'll be spots of this video where it's really, not even close as far as the flight path goes. But I did what I could as far as the recordings that I have, and the ability within my editing skills of just changing the speed of the playback or the recording to where it would sync up at least in part. But to me, again, I see very similar results regardless of the radio, so I don't think it's a faulty TX module that's blowing out my reception. I just think this is how my FlyWoo 1S Nano Baby video reception is. Maybe there's something in my environment that the video doesn't like. I will tell you that I flew another quad that has an onboard video transmitter, and the reception I got was exactly what I expected. So yeah, I can't blame my equipment, and that was the main point in me doing this, was to make sure that my equipment worked as I thought it should be working, and to do some additional testing, because I certainly don't, like I said, want future videos to be skewed based upon possibly having working but yet not 100% working properly equipment. We're now down to 50 milliwatts on the ExpressLRS TX modules, both of them. And again, there might be some slight differences, but I still see them as close enough to where I couldn't definitively blame one or another. I've also gotten some questions about the 1S Nano Baby, or I should say FireFly 1S Nano Baby, and how it compares to a bunch of other quads. Oddly enough, some of the comparisons are about, something like the Mobula 6 or the Mobula 7. Well, the Mobula 7 is 2S, so it has a definite power advantage. I would say outside, whoops don't necessarily fly well outside, just because of that native wind resistance we have and that prop protection. And we have yaw washout, whereas this isn't going to yaw washout. It doesn't have that prop protection. It's just 1S, and it's super, super light. So I think comparing it to a Mobula 7, if you're comparing it to a Mobula 6, I think the Mobula 6 doesn't fly as well as this does. It's not quite as much fun, and that won't be a surprise to too many people, especially the veterans that have flown a bunch of different quads, that without prop protection, you can just fly more natively as you would expect to be able to fly. You don't have to fly around the fact that you've got prop protection on there. Also got some questions about the iFlight Nazgul, the baby Nazgul, excuse me, and I think those two are very, very comparable. The Nazgul is running 35 millimeter props. This is running 40 millimeter biblades. The KV is a little bit lower on the Nano Baby versus the baby Nazgul. So that's probably one of the other differences that we're seeing there. I tend to see quads differently from one quad to the next, but again, you might not. I think the main separator for me on those two quads, the baby Nazgul and this FireFly 1S Nano Baby, boy, that just sort of rolls off the tongue, is the flight time issue. I think the flight performance is going to be very similar for both of them. I don't think there's enough of a difference, again, much like this test, that you would just be able to definitively say, this one is far superior. Some might feel that way, but I don't. I think they're very, very close as far as their performance, but the main difference is flight time. There could be a difference as far as how you feel in brands or the quality of their components, but yeah, I just wanted to cover a few things here, DVR aspect, as well as testing my equipment to make sure it wasn't faulty and didn't skew the product. I know a lot of people were pretty happy with what they saw, so I didn't get a lot of comments about the excess flashing, so it wasn't one of those top concerns, but that comment made me worry that I might be doing a disservice to future products or the Foxeer Reaper. But to me, again, tell me what you think. But to me, it doesn't look like my TX module on my Happy model, or excuse me, on my Jumper T-Lite had any impact as far as the reception goes. Maybe my environment is just more difficult than others, but yeah, again, I did fly another quad and I got the video reception as I normally do. I just think maybe there's something with this particular all-in-one board and the VTX. The other test would be to take the other board that they sent me and put it in there. I haven't done that yet. It's going to take me a little bit of time, but I'm sure I'll be using that board on some build coming up here in the not so terrible far future. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the comments section below. I appreciate your time. Happy Monday, everybody. Thanks for watching.